Welcome to TradeGameGuide.com. This is John's report is for the 17th. Well, despite the press-ups that we've had, we've been seeing dips in each one of the buy opportunities. So the bearish modality is still existing, and in fact, we're starting the day with potential of weight moving back above magenta. We'll see how that plays out throughout the day. Yes, we have midterm buyers in the green DSC tilting up, but you've got orange caught between steel, between cyan and red, which typically is continuation, which means we may get more sideways action with that. The slight uptick of steel is what short-term buyers have really pretty much propped things up enough to keep market in good condition. It is interesting as we flip on the intraday. When we do get these spikes of the weight above magenta, our expectation is a return back to zero once we get the sell signal. Well, in this particular case, we came down to the 23%, and it didn't quite go there all the way, but repeat of it. And so that expectation would bring us back to the 44.25 range, if that fits within the expected move. Now it can go back and forth for a while. There's no question about that. That's 50K chart, so much longer period. I mean, it doesn't necessarily happen today. It could happen, by the weekend. So we'll just have to follow where we're getting our intraday readings. From an NQ standpoint, big difference. You see that? The weight dipping lower, so this may be enough to keep the S&P from too much of a dip. And big difference as well, it's above the 76%, whereas the S&P, every time it was hitting the 76, was catching resistance. So it could be another one of those tech saves the day situations. But again, oil continuing that push towards the highs, and like we pointed out, that will have bearish overtones for going into the fall, and that because continued rise there certainly put pressure on consumers and consumer pricing, and that has a definite impact. Euro stabilizing a bit, still within a bearish mode as well. Bitcoin had its dip from before, got buyback within that, but again, there's that spike of the weight. The expectation would be that you would come back down to that 46.7 range, or if the 0% rises, it will catch it either way. Negative in that. And what I wanted to point out was this was that late day rally that happened a couple days ago, and I pointed out with all these positive extremes. I mean, it began literally at the algo level at the 44.40. So you had this huge spike up all at one time, and then leveled across, and we ended up with more weight spikes. And sure enough, the return to zero, got another weight spike, moved back to zero, and then as we came across through the day, the weight spike moved to zero, and then it shot back up from there. We ended up with a peak spike, but then a series of positive extremes right in between the algo level. First one starting right at the base of it, and then going on from there. So right back to that 44.49, and then as we ended the day, clear. I mean, it's kind of classic now when we look at it, sort of like the DOC spreads, but it gives us a little more clarity when we dip below that 33 with magenta, below yellow, and yellow also dipping with the white crossing red, and sure enough, boom. And here we are in the post-market. From that setup, it didn't quite reach with the white, because that peak was a little bit lower, and so we had a little bit more of a spike, but literally filled it right back in exactly to it. Doesn't get any more cleaner than that. I think that's about as good a read as you could possibly expect. So spot on with it from an accuracy standpoint, and still playing with some of the adjustments, because a situation like this where we ended up with a zero, should have sold out on that short configuration on the move back above and bought the new setup. So I've got to work that one out. But even still, I think that it's been a lot lower in the adjustments with what I've had to work with on it, but once I get those thermal configurations squared away, it should start producing some much stronger results than this. I know we had it over bigger profit factor numbers as well, so it's just a matter of making some of those tweaks to what the stop outs are. And that was the work that I was talking about with the white dots and the red. Because even where I get the configurations of the green moving above, it just delays the inevitable. It doesn't stop it from happening. So here you had it. We ended up with the rise, and that was because of the magenta holding up, and then boom. But it corresponds with positive extremes is something I will be also looking into as well, just to have as a backup data point to see if it has significance. As always, though, trade well. I want to thank everyone for their support of my mother. She's in the ICU, and there were some complications, but doctors are hopeful, so we'll see how that all plays out over the weekend. Trade well. We'll talk to you later.